Okay, so this video is doing examples from Pizzazz 5.16. So let's do, we're going to do number 2 together, and then we're going to do number 7 together. So we'll do all of number 2 and all of number 7. So number 2 says n to the 9th times n to the 4th. Let's do that first. Okay, so we have like bases, so we get to keep it. And then we have to add 9 plus 4 is 13. So our answer will be n to the 13th. The next one says n cubed times n. Well, what we have to do is we have to fill in the 1 here. Even though it's not written, it is there. So we keep the n and we add the 3 and the 1. 3 plus 1 is 4. And then we have n squared times n to the 7th. We keep the n and add the exponents. 2 plus 7 is 9. Now when I look at the riddle, I mark off the ones that I use. So we used n to the 9th, n to the 13th, and n to the 4th. What we didn't use was n to the 8th. So number 2 is going to be I. All right, number 7. Let's do number 7. I got to rewrite these, so it's going to take a minute. All right. The first thing that we need to do is go back through and fill in anything that needs a 1. Notice that these have exponents, but this one doesn't. So I need to put a 1 here by the P. Okay, now I'm ready to start working this out. I'm going to break it apart. The 5 times the 4. Then we have P to the 9th times P to the 1st. And then we have q squared times q to the 3rd. So take a minute and look at that. We put our 5 and our 4 together. We put our p's together, and we put our q's together. Only put things that are alike together so that you don't confuse yourself. And I always separate my parts by parentheses, because parentheses still means multiplication. So 5 times 4 is 20. P to the 9th times P to the 1st. I'm going to keep the P and add a 9 and a 1. 9 plus 1 is 10. And then I have Q squared times Q cubed. So I'm going to keep the Q, and then I add 2 plus 3, which is 5. So my answer is 20 P to the 10th, Q to the 5th. All right, let's go ahead and do the next part. Then B, let's put it that way. B is, I'm going to have to write it here, negative 5P Q to the 4th times negative 4 P to the 7th Q. All right, so I'm going to go back through and I'm going to fill in anything that needs a 1. And I'm looking, and I need a 1 here at the P, and I need a 1 here at the Q. So now I'm ready to rewrite and group together like terms, or like factors really. Negative 5 times negative 4. And then I have P to the 1st times P to the 7th. And then I have Q to the 4th times Q to the 1st. So I'm ready to start multiplying. And negative 5 times negative 4 is positive 20. P to the 1st times P to the 7th is going to be P to the 8th, because 1 plus 7 is 8. Q to the 4th times Q to the 1st is going to be Q to the 5th, because 4 plus 1 is 5. So there's the answer for B. And now we're ready for C. C says 2p squared times negative 10 p to the 5th q to the 6th. Well, I don't think I have to fill in anything. Everything looks like it's fine. So I'm just going to start grouping together. So I got 2 times negative 10. Then I have p squared times p to the 5th. And then I just have q to the 6th by itself. It's going to stay q to the 6th because I can't change it. There's nothing to multiply it by. But the other two I need to finish. So 2 times negative 10 is negative 20. P squared times p to the 5th is going to be p to the 7th because 2 plus 5 is 7. And then q to the 6th is going to stay. So I'm going to rewrite that answer over here. Negative 20 p to the 7th q to the 6th. All right, we got one left. Before I turn my page, I'm going to go ahead and mark off what I've already done. So the first question was this one, and then the second one was p to the 8th, q to the 5th, this one, and then the one we just did was this one. Okay, so we have one left to do, and it's going to be one of these two answers. So let's go ahead and finish it. And you should be trying these by yourself first. If you haven't been, go ahead and try this last one by yourself before I work it out, and see if you can figure it out for yourself. Okay, now we do have to fill something in. We have to fill in a 1 here, and we have to fill in a 1 here. Actually, this is a negative 1, p to the 3rd, q to the 1st. If it's just a negative out front, it's really a negative 1. And then everything else looks like it's good, and we'll start grouping together what we can. So negative 1 times 20. Then we have p to the 3rd times p to the 8th. Then we have q to the 1st times q to the 8th. Okay, so let's just look at each piece individually. Negative 1 times 20 is negative 20. P to the 3rd times p to the 8th is p to the 11th. Q to the 1st times q to the 8th is q to the 9th. Because 8 plus 1 is 9, and 3 plus 8 is 11. And then here we're just multiplying. All right, let's see if we can find our answer, and it's the bottom one. So number 7 is actually S, because it's the one we didn't use. So up in the riddle, I'm going to put an S where 7 is. Okay, so I want you to work out the rest by yourself. And of course, as always, if you have any questions, please ask and I will help you, if you've tried for yourself first.